Hi again, everyone. I'm here to continue on with what we were working on yesterday. I'll probably then take a little break from doing some videos, so I'm not bombarding you too much. Although feel free to um, give me some feedback if you would like to see more um, of something that I've been showing you. Just let me know. You can send me a message or pop a comment up. So today I'm going to continue, as I said. We'll start again with working without a hook. So I'm going to show you how to actually do what's called a double crochet stitch without using a hook. So we'll continue on with that, and then I'll show you how to work into your chains using your hook. So I'm going to flip the camera around. I've got all sorts of dodgy things going on. I broke my special selfie tripod thing that I had invested in, and I managed to break that. So I've got all sorts of dodgy setups, but I think I'm managing it. So I'm just going to flip the camera to let you see my hands. Okay. And I think I need to flip that. There we go, that should be still set up from yesterday. And there's my hands. Hi! Okay, so as I said, we're going to work with continuing on from our chains that we did yesterday. So I'll just do a couple more just as a little revision. So this was just using our loops. We started with our slip knot, and then to form our chains we've pulled the yarn through the loop to create a chain. So pulling through and creating those chains. Now the basic stitch is in Australia and the UK we would call this a double crochet. In America they call it a single crochet. So when you get to the point that you're looking at patterns, there is some different terminology between those countries, but we won't worry about that too much at the moment. We'll just go with this. I'm calling it a double crochet. So we're going to start our first row. We're creating this sort of look. It will be a little bit messy because we've got this chunky fabric that we're using. So I've got my loop there, and this would be the first chain. Now I want to work into the second chain, which is this one. So I'm going to go under those two loops, and I'm going to pull my yarn through that so that I have two loops on my finger. I'm then going to pull my yarn through those two loops, and I've created my first stitch. Okay, so I'm back to having one loop again, and I have one stitch on my first row on the chains. So I'm popping that over my finger again. I'm going to go under these couple of loops of my next chain. So I've poked my finger through there to pick up the yarn from the other side and pull it through. I've got two loops on my finger, and I'm going to pull my yarn through. Two stitches. Okay, so again, yarn's over my finger, I'm poking my finger through those two loops, or under those top two loops of my chains, picking up the yarn. I've got two loops on my finger, wrapping the yarn around or just reaching through to pull that yarn through again, and I've got the loop. So you can see how it's starting to form that row of stitches. So I'll just do a a few more. So this is something you can easily do. This obviously works best with something chunky, so if you're going to do this finger style of crocheting, it's obviously more suited to a thicker yarn. So you could play around with some rope. So this is strips of fabric that have been cut and formed into a ball of yarn. And yeah, maybe some old pantyhose. Perhaps you've got lots of old pantyhose lying around. You're not going out, you don't really need to wear them, do you? Not that I did anyway. But yeah, just be a bit creative. You know, finding the kids can find something that's suitable to use. With your help, of course. Don't let them just rip up anything in sight. So I'm coming to the end of my row, and then we'll be turning. So just going to work into that last loop there. That might be a little bit tighter there. And pulling through. So we have our first row done, and we're going to turn around. So we flip all of that work over, and we're going to do another row. So now it's a little bit easier because we're actually going to work into that stitch. So I'll start with another chain. So you're just building up to the height of your next row. So again, we're going through those two loops. So now you can see there's that chain looking effect on the top of your stitches. So that's what we're working into. So I'm going under there. I've got my two loops on my finger and pulling through. So exactly the same as we did in that first row. The only difference is that now we've got a stitch to work into rather than our chains. And this is actually quite relaxing to do. I'm finding doing this without the hook is just quite relaxing to do. Yeah, so it's a little bit of fun, something different for me as well. Now I do repost these videos on YouTube, and on YouTube there is a function to be able to slow down the playback. So if I get a bit excited and I'm going along a bit fast for you, you can refer back to that. So see how that's starting to grow? So like in the piece that I'd already done. So if we continued on, then we could make, you know, maybe this might be a good little trivet to, you know, pop your teapot on, or if you've got a hot dish that you don't want to put directly on the surface, maybe a placemat even. So perhaps the kids could make you some placemats if you've got something nice, you know, some nice colours around to play with. And if I wanted to join in another colour, I'll just show you that quickly. This is a really scrappy bit of yarn that I've created. What have I done there? I don't think I finished off the stitch, or I've unpulled it. I've done something funny there. Okay, so if I'm going to bring in my new colour, we can just start that at the end here. So I would snip that yarn off, ideally, and finish off. I perhaps won't do that at the moment because it's good for me to be able to keep on demonstrating with that. So you're just going to bring in another colour there. So I'm going to bring that through. I'm going to make a little slip knot. I might have gone a bit off track doing this because it's not actually ideally how I'd bring in the other colour. But anyway, so there we are. So we'll just pull that slip knot through that previous loop. And I've got that there. So The other way of doing this would be to actually just tie onto that, but I would have finished off my other colour. Sorry, I've gone a little bit off track with that. I might leave the colour change today and I'll come back and do it properly. I just don't really want to cut these at the moment because they're working for me to do something else. Okay, so let's just forget that little bit. So this is working in your rows. That's something that you can go ahead and actually do a project either yourself or with your kids, or show your kids how to do it so they've got something to do. Now with the hook, we have to remember how to hold our hook. So I'll just go through that again. I've made my slip knot, popping that on the hook, and again showing you how I hold the yarn. So I take the yarn over my fingers, wrap around my little finger to create that tension. I'm holding the base of my slip knot with those fingers, and I'm using a pencil grip for my hook. Some of you may like that knife grip. Okay, so I'm doing my chains, so I'm looping under the yarn and pulling through. So looping under, pulling through. So we did this yesterday. If you need a reviser of how to do your chains, go back to yesterday's video. I'm just going to do a few here to be able to work back on. So I've done 1, 2, so if I'm counting them, that's another good point actually. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 chains that I have there. Now I'm going to, my little piece is going to have 8 chains that 8 stitches that I'm working on. So this number 9 chain is actually the beginning of my row. So it's lifting me up into that height of the row. So same as we just did with using our fingers, this time we're going to poke the hook under those 2 loops. So we're coming through, we're going to catch the yarn with the hook and pull it through, so we have 2 loops on the hook. We roll the hook under the yarn and pull through those 2 loops. Now as I do that, I'm just holding on to my fabric there to pull through, so that's going to help you get your even tension. Now the first row working into the chains may be a little more challenging for you to get going, but once you've got that base, it will be much easier for you to work on. So again, it's just practice. So we're going to go under those 2 loops of our chain, pop the hook through, catch the yarn with your hook, pull it through. You've got 2 loops on your hook, roll the hook under the yarn and pull through. So again, go through your chain under those 2 loops. I prefer to go under the 2 loops. It makes for a tidier edge. You can just go under 1 loop. It makes the bottom edge a little bit lacier. So I'm wrapping the hook around the yarn, pull through, 2 loops on the hook. I'm holding my work as I catch the yarn again and pull through. Now I'll change my grip so you can just see if I was to use the knife grip. Same sort of thing, I'm poking through my chain to pick up the loop, pull it through, around and through the 2 loops. Poke through those, through the chain, catch the yarn, pulling it through the loop, wrap the yarn around, pull through again. I'll try and do a couple with that other hold. So if I hold with my thumb and middle finger with the index finger up. That's just a grip that some of you may prefer. I find that a little bit harder. Doesn't come naturally to me. So this one's going through there, still catching your yarn. Get your 2 loops on there and pull around. So as I said yesterday, it doesn't really matter what your technique is as long as you're achieving that end result. So there's a few different ways of doing it. You could also just go through, so we've come to this last one now. I'm going to go through those loops, and some people might find that they just want to wrap the yarn around. So that works too, as long as we're getting that even tension. So there we are, we've got that first row of little double crochets. I must start saying crochet because YouTube keeps telling me I'm sharing crows. Maybe it's because I'm a South Aussie originally and they call us crow eaters. I've been in Tassie long enough now that I think I've gone beyond that. Okay, so we're going to just do 1 chain, which is going to be our little bridge ready for working on the next row. So it's brought us up to the height of the next row. And now it becomes a little bit easier because you've got something more to hang on to there. So we're going under those 2 loops, so it looks like a chain from the top. Under those 2 loops, pop the hook through, roll the hook around towards you to catch that yarn. 2 loops are on the hook, rolling your hook to catch the yarn and bring it towards you and pull through. So I think of, when I'm using my hook, I think of it as if you were rowing. You're allowing the hook to just roll. If I was doing a different sort of stitch, I would actually wrap it around that many times. We're not going to do those just yet, so we'll just stick with our little double crochets. So through, under those 2 loops, wrap the yarn around, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn around, pull through. Going under those 2 loops of the work, catch your yarn, pull through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn around, pull through. So we call these a yarn over. So you're going through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Going through your stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Going into your next stitch, yarn over, through 2. Into your next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're coming up to our final stitch. So into that one, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So we now have 2 rows, and there are 8 stitches there that we've worked on. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So remember we started with 9 chains, but that 9th chain just forms that little bridge to go into your work. So as you progress, there's lots and lots and lots of different stitches. There's lots of different techniques. So there may be something that you do. So I'm doing my chain to turn my work, and I'm going to work into these next stitches, which I'll do as I'm talking to you now. So you may find that you do something that's actually a more advanced stitch. So there's no, right or wrong. You may do something that is a different stitch, it gives a different look. Don't get too caught up in it. Just practice so that you're getting used to holding your hook and holding your yarn so that you have an even tension. What's going to be important is that we get this even tension. Now, if I don't wrap that yarn, I don't even know if I can do this very well, so perhaps if I just let that go loose, and on this next row, I don't worry too much about whether I've got tension or not. I think I'll just automatically do it. So if I'm playing around and I just you can see I now haven't got an even tension. I'm still creating stitches, but it's no longer neat. It's no longer even. If you have made a boo-boo and you want to unpull things, it's just a matter of pulling back. Sometimes if you have done a little dodgy, it might get caught up. But yeah, it will just unpull. So you can unpull, you can use the same little bit of yarn and keep on practicing with that. So I just really suggest that you play with it. Just sit there, keep practicing, keep repeating it, and when you get to the point that you can just comfortably be doing it without thinking too much, that's fantastic, and then that's when we can throw in a new technique. So you can go ahead, you could make yourself a little band just doing this. If you do more chains, so obviously the more chains you have, the more stitches you are going to have. If you wanted to make a band or a belt or a scarf, you just create enough chains that you have enough width there, and then just continue on to the length that you want. If I want to finish off, what I'm going to do, that's if you come to the end of your work or you want to put your work down, so you can put your work down at any point. Doesn't have to be at the end of the row. I will do this one at the end of the row. So I've done my final stitch. I want to go off and make a cup of tea. I'll just pull that out so I don't accidentally pull it all undone. However, if I want to finish off at that point, I'm going to just snip my yarn, take the yarn around, pull through, and finish off. So I've actually finished off. If you've got kids that have got a doll's house, that's a nice little, mat or something you can pop into the doll's house. I don't know. I don't have much to do with kids, so I don't know what they play with these days. But I was asked to do some little rugs for a doll's house for someone at one stage, so that's why I'm referring back to that. And just to tidily finish off, we just thread the yarn back through. Now, when I was taught to crochet, I refused to do this. I used to always say, it doesn't matter because it's on the other side. Doesn't matter what it looks like. I made a beautiful vest and I had all the bits of yarn dangling on the inside, and Auntie Yvonne was so upset with me because I wouldn't finish it off properly. And down the track, I make sure everything is finished off nicely. And I know she'd be very proud of me now. Unfortunately, she's not here any longer to see. But yeah, rather than having dangly ends, I've just finished that edge off. So same with this one. So you need a needle that has a wide eye, so a tapestry needle. You can get these special yarn needles for thicker yarn too. And to thread it, I just wrap the yarn around the needle and pull it tight, and then that squishes through quite easily. And so all I'm doing is just weaving through some of the stitches there and pull through. Try not to go through onto the other side because you obviously don't want it to show. We're doing this on the wrong side. And I usually just go back a couple of times doing that. I can see Louise is watching me. I'll just say hi to you, Louise. It's a little bit hard for me to see my screen while I'm doing this, so I don't know if I've got anyone else watching me or not. It looks like there's 3 people watching me, but I don't know who the other 2 are. Sorry I've missed you, but thank you for watching. Oh, someone left. Did they get upset because someone else has left? So Louise is still watching me. Oh no, 3 back again. I'm still getting used to doing these. So yep, just snipping off that little bit. So there we go. That's just what could be something you use. I might even wrap that around something that can be a little thing that you wrap around, depending on what you're making, of course. So this is, as you know, this is all just practice. Anyway, I'll flip the camera around and just say goodbye. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope that's helpful. I will pop it over onto YouTube. As I said, you can slow down the function on YouTube to make it a little bit easier to watch, to practice, and just practice. That's how you get there. Okay, thank you. Bye.